Oftentimes, as you said, I mean, that's a great example of being a positive person, and then hopefully folks will figure it out and they want to be a positive person. You sure want to be around positive people.
Yeah.
You don't want negative people to pull you down, and that's so easy to happen. But oftentimes one of the difficulties is expressing things to others in a discerning fashion as opposed to what they perceive as a judgmental fashion.
Right.
You know, when you're trying to get them more upbeat and become more positive, how do you go about doing that, Muriel, to make sure you aren't being perceived as judgmental? Because judgmental, obviously, I guess, would turn a lot of people off.
Yes, judgmental does turn people off, and I think about that in terms of the words we use, like when you use the word "you" a lot. I use, like, why don't you straighten up, or you should do this. I say stay away from should-isms because we don't want to hear that all the time. An example I would give, say, to a parent. Let's use that. Let's say a student comes home and says to his mother, guess what? I got suspended today. 99% of parents would say, what did you do?
Right.
Well, we have to learn to change our words. The same thing happens. The student comes home, I've been suspended. If we would only say something like, tell me what happened. It keeps the door open. There's room. And that's the way we work these building or growing positive people. We say things a little differently so they don't feel so defensive and so put down. And that's the way I've been able to do that. It's just sort of change the way I say things. Or look at little things. It's the little stuff that impacts us the most. Find something good. I had a student one time, and I couldn't find anything good to write in his report card, and I thought, and I finally wrote, Michael eats well in the lunchroom.
Good for you.
Look, that was something.
Yeah.
You see, when we're working with these negative types, we have to find something to build on. Because they do something.
I loved it yesterday as we wrapped up the interview yesterday morning. You highlighted going in restrooms at gas stations or otherwise, and taking the time to go thank the person of the cash register or whoever's operating or wherever it was, a convenience store maybe you said, to thank them for keeping that bathroom clean, because it is nice. And I'm sure they're probably cleaner for women than they are for guys. Guys can make a bigger mess in restrooms. So that was real nice. That is noticing the small things, big to you, possibly small to them, and possibly very small to other people who walk through there.
Or when someone's really frustrated checking out in the grocery store and they're checking out everybody and there are people complaining. I always find something good to say, like something they have on, or you amaze me the way you handle that. I appreciate that. I said, not many people could handle that the way you did. And they light up. But it's just that little stuff that changes their entire way of seeing themselves.
Well, now, there's got to be times where you're a human being, just a normal person, where you want to explode or you just want to break down and say, what are you doing? I mean, move along. How do you keep that to yourself and not let that out? I mean, you really can't let that out. You got to be careful.
I'm careful.
Or your tenants. You're also a landlord.
Well, I do. I have tenants, and they test one's patience. Believe you me.
Sure.
And there are times when I give feedback. Let's say I give feedback, but I try to make it as positive as I can. But I'm not afraid to take action or do what I need to do. I can be very firm.
I love it.
But I can do it in a kind way. And another thing is manners. Manners don't cost a dime, but they're worth $1 million. And so many people just don't use their manners. So that's another way to show a positive way. When my son Bryant was at the Citadel during his must have been his sophomore year, because they had very little time away from school the first year. He always has been very outgoing, very sociable, and he would bring guys home. We lived only 40 miles from the Citadel, so I found myself in a situation where I was cooking these large dinners for Sunday, and he would bring 4 or 5 cadets. And it got to be a rut for me. So I called him aside and said, Bryant, I like for you to come home, and I enjoy your friends, but give me a break. Here I'm just working myself to death, and give me a break. And he said to me, he said, Mom, he said, yeah, I like to come home. I like the tablecloth. I love your food. But, Mom, most of all, I like the way you treat me when my buddies come home. He said, you smile more at me. You make me feel so good. He said, Mom, you look better. You smell better. He said, I like being around you when my buddies are here. And I was furious with him. And I ran that script through my head after he left, and I thought, he's right. And I read where we often treat strangers with more kindness and manners than we do those we live with and work with. If we're coming out of a crowded theater or opera and we step on somebody's toe, we go all out of our way to apologize profusely. Whereas if we run over and want somebody in our family we're with, it's like, get out of the way. So, you know, there's we can carry this to many, many places, but the basic thing is just to be that person who's considerate, who is always working at being a better person.
Was there ever that thought that Bryant just wanted to show his mom off?
Well,
I guess he was kind of saying that at some level, because all these guys, I mean, they're not going to their homes.
Well, he did that. It paid off, because when we would go tailgating, they would come over there and say, Bryant, we love your mom. She is so young. She is such a good cook. You know, it certainly fed my ego.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
Yeah, I was the number one mom, I tell you. I would sneak food into the barracks. I did a lot of things because I was that super mom.
Super mom, yeah. There's nothing wrong with being super mom, but at the same time, one of the things I think you were going to talk about yesterday, and you maybe could elaborate on a little bit, mental vitamins. We got a couple of minutes, and maybe you're highlighting that now, but you got to be taking some mental vitamins to be able to be a super mom. Well,
mental vitamins are those things that really charge our battery in terms of being positive, and some of them include being open to new learning. Another is if there's something about yourself you don't like, change it. Do something. If you don't like the way your hair looks, or if you do something about it, if somebody, talk with them about it. Do something about things you don't like. Another thing is to build on your strengths. I'm not a person who enjoys dealing with numbers and detail things. I'd much rather talk to you. But I appreciate those skills in somebody else. And I'm not going to spend my life trying to get everything together in terms of being analytical, organized to the nth degree. I'm going to look at what I can do and then figure out a way to work with you, or use sticky notes, or organize myself in a fashion that I can do that. And there's some people who would not do what I do. So we have to take a mental vitamin, look at what we do well, and build on that. That's one of the vitamins. Stop worrying, because worry is wasted energy. Stop holding grudges. They will send you to an early grave. You got to let things go. You got to let things go.
Muriel, we were talking about that before we started filming. I think you shared with us, and I'm sorry you had to go through that experience with the loss of a loved one. Not only your husband, but also your son. And so, how do you go about, and we've only got a couple of minutes, you can't share how you go about letting that go. I guess you can't.
Well, you just deal one day at a time. And what I look at, I can't focus on what I've lost. I have to focus on what I have left.
Or what I can give. That's right.
And what I can give.
Sure.
So that's been my mental vitamin, is to focus on what I have left and what I can give.
Can you grow positive people overnight? If you had a minute to sum it up, could you grow positive people overnight?
All those people are different. Long, positive relationships take time. It's like anything else that's worthwhile. You work at it. You nurture it. You water it. You never give up on those relationships that are most important. And it's been the entire focus of my life. Even though I grew up in a family where I was loved, I never talked with my parents. They never told me how great I was. And I meant when I had my own family, I would use a nurturing approach where we would have dialogue. We had family meetings every Sunday night where we discussed things. And now my son is doing that with his family.
I love it.
And it's just something, it's like a habit. You just have to acquire it.
Those are great words. Muriel, thanks so much again for being with us this morning. Back-to-back mornings has been a treat.
Yeah.
Stay tuned to more Carolina People with Muriel O'Toole coming up next. You know, if you were with us yesterday, you would have heard Muriel share that she doesn't speak Spanish. She doesn't speak Spanish, but she speaks a language. That special language you heard her talk about up there is they pull the stool over next to the Christmas tree around Christmas, around Thanksgiving, great around Valentine's Day, the language of validation. What a great language. Think about that, and it's as simple as those 4 letters. And you can break it down. You can get off before you run off to work today. You can think about how after work you're going to pull a loved one in and take a little time to go over this language. Admiration, appreciation. Admiration, appreciation, and of course respect. That's a critical one. And love, or like, even in the workplace. You heard her talk about this special language. It's an easy one. You can learn more about it in Footprints on the Heart, Muriel's first book. We got a second one coming out in the near future. Of course, you can go to MurielO'Toole.com, or you can give her a call, 843-249-6903. Real easy number, 249-6903. Find a way to connect with Muriel O'Toole. You can learn this language.